unless specifically indicated otherwise, the content expressed are my views only and not necessarily those of Life Pro Asset Management, LLC. The content presented is in no way an investment advice, solicitation, or an offer to sell securities or investment advisory services. The material is provided for general information and educational purposes based upon publicly available information from sources believed to be reliable. I cannot assure the accuracy or completeness of these materials. As such, the information in these materials may change at any time without notice. Reference to these discussions about IULs and annuities or fixed insurance products. Investments on fixed insurance products are different from investments in the stock market. Any guarantees provided by a fixed insurance product cannot be assumed to be guaranteed for any other investment.
Welcome to the Rock My Finances show on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV, where we put the fun in finance. Join Powerhouse Jennifer Jost, CDFA, CMC, and Private Wealth Advisor, as she collaborates with you to create clarity, control, and confidence with your money, your way. It's not about the zeros, so what is it all about? Let's find out. Now here's your host and weekly friend, Jennifer Jost.
Hey there. Hi, ladies. Hello, Miss Denise Caron, Miss Kavanaugh, Miss Petalyn, Swart. How are we?
Hello.
We are good. Woohoo! Excited.
You have joined Soul Sister Series, so check out all the other ones as well. This is episode 8 of Soul Sister Series. Today we are going to discuss vulnerability. You are going to get 4 people's extreme different thoughts, ideas, jokes, stories, and all the great stuff about being vulnerable. What is it? Why? How? What? Why? When? You know, all that stuff. So we're gonna dive right in. If the first thing is we're in our pajamas, so we're starting off with vulnerability, bitches. Like this is it.
It's pajama day.
Here's a question
Denise
for you.
has been waiting for this for 8 episodes.
Well, at least 2.5 months because we talked about it like in April.
Okay, but who wears earrings?
I know, right?
Earrings with their pajamas.
I totally would never wear these, obviously, to bed. But I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to add a little bling and have a little fun.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Other little tiny ones on, but no,
now
blingy ones.
Does pajamas mean no bra? Oh, first vulnerable question.
Good question. I'll go first. Okay, for me.
Uh-oh. So much for going first.
It's not me.
Pajamas at night always.
Okay, you cut out there, my love.
I'm actually
you cut out.
Okay, I cut out. Okay, so I said for me, going to sleep at night absolutely means no bra, but right now I'm 100% wearing one because I'm actually more comfortable in a bra. I am. So.
Oh God, not me. I'm not loving this vulnerability. Petalyn, you got your tits held up there?
Well, yeah. I mean, when back in the day when I was as small as Denise, I would not have worn them. But, mine need a little support. They're sort of, they're going south in a hurry.
Karen, your tits held up?
They're like I'm on the slow boat to Antarctica, but it's picking up speed.
Oh my God. Yeah, right now the girls are being supported, but to bed normally, absolutely not. And pajamas are optional. But
that's another good vulnerable
absolutely.
Question. I'm definitely sleeping in my birthday suit every night. Freaking love it. Anybody else? Karen sounds like depends.
Years.
It depends. It depends on how cold it is. If it's hot in the summertime, forget about it. But in the wintertime, sometimes a shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. It depends. And it depends who's next to me.
Well, for sure. Yeah. Yes. With my partner in bed. No, because he and I are both like furnaces. So
I love it. Petalyn, what are you doing up there in those cold, snowy mountains?
Yeah. So they're not so cold or snowy right now, but I used to sleep in the nude for years and years. When I was married, I slept in the nude for years. But I like a little tank top, a little, merino wool tank top, something light, really light. I just, it just saves my sheets a little bit,
Oh, yes. Okay.
And I have white sheets. I like my white sheets. So
I have white sheets. Love my white sheets.
Yeah, me too.
I love this. So this is an example of being vulnerable. Here we are telling the whole world how we sleep. So that's pretty vulnerable, right? The whole world's listening to my podcast, y'all.
Of
Did
course,
you know
of course. The whole world is listening, tuning in right now.
If they haven't been, they will be now.
Yeah.
Right? The 79 people give a shit about what we sleep in. Okay.
Or don't sleep in.
And how about socks? Right? Like I have my matching fuzzy pink and white socks on too.
She's so
I
cute.
can't sleep.
I start out with them in the wintertime when my feet are really cold, because my feet do get cold, but then somewhere in the middle of the night they end up like at the pillow or on the floor or something. Yeah. I can't sleep with I don't like them.
Your socks are like, quick, she's asleep. One side, go somewhere, the other side, go somewhere else.
That's true. They end up, I get one on my pillow, the other one's on the floor, on top of the cat.
On top of the face of her boyfriend.
Now he'll brush that off.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about this word vulnerability, being vulnerable. And let's do it a little bit of all areas of our life. You don't have to comment on all of the areas, but somewhere within the day, I want someone to touch on, you know what I mean? I want to cover spirituality, vulnerability, obviously love relationship, Karen sleeping in bed with someone, right? That's vulnerable. Family and friends might be a different level of vulnerability, and business, right? Our staff is a different level. Coworkers is a different level, and acquaintances. When we're in business and when we're speakers and when we're all coaches, we can gather acquaintances often. And since we are all vulnerable in our talk, so we're all speakers and we all do share stories about our personal lives somewhere within an acquaintance. So they might feel a little bit more connected to us than what we know of them. So we have already chosen to be vulnerable, to speak on stage and to be authentic and tell our truth. But let's talk about maybe an area in your life where it's been difficult for you to be vulnerable and why you think it's important to be vulnerable in that area. How's that? So you can pick an area in your life that's been difficult and that you're choosing to be vulnerable. And I want to just point straight to Miss Caron, but you don't have to.
What?
Because you are.
Why me? Why am I going first?
Oh, Karen.
Because you always go last. And so.
No, you always go first. You always make me go first.
She's whining. Okay.
She doesn't have to go first. If she doesn't want to go first, she can be completely vulnerable and say, I am not going first.
No. Now I want Karen to go first. I gotta hear this out. You don't have to, but I want to.
She's on the hot spot.
All right. So your question is for me. What area?
What area was it difficult for you to be vulnerable, and why you think it's important to be vulnerable in that area?
It's really interesting. I mean, honestly, that's a tough question. It's a tough question. I can't even speak. It's a tough question for me because for much of my life, I was not vulnerable. So I could say in business, that would be true. I could say in my friendships, that was also true. I mean, I've even had people after I've kind of disclosed all of this to them say, yeah, I've never really felt like I've known you for years, but I never really knew you. Right. So I had that experience in relationship. I've had that experience. So it's kind of actually like pick one thing. I think it's just for me because we have only one life. Right. And so vulnerability for me had to be a choice for my life. And it was scary as hell to really kind of put myself out there and allow people to see me and for who I am, warts and all, and either accept me or not, because I spent a lot of my life worrying about what other people thought. And then if they didn't like me, then it triggered all my not being enough stuff. Right. And so, so to pick one area, I mean, we can start with one. I don't know whichever.
No, I like it. That was actually totally perfect. So why is it important? Because now you've noticed that in all areas. And I love that you're saying that, right? It is how we think about one thing is how we think about everything. So that's great. Why is it important? Because you said it's a choice. Why did you make that choice? Because
I was not fulfilled in any of my relationships. And it's really easy to have the problem be over there and say, well, I just don't feel close to these people. Like what's going, and it's like, well, maybe they just don't like me or whatever that might be. So it's still over there versus how I'm showing up. And, it started, it started mostly because of my marriage. And, what I was how I was or was not showing up in that marriage really had me take a look at how am I showing up in all areas of my life. Right. And so I had to make a choice as, do I want to continue having surface relationships, or do I really want to have close, intimate relationships with people?
How did you know you weren't fulfilled?
There was never, I had a few really close relationships, with girlfriends in particular. I felt like there was more. Like there was good. Like, there could just be something else or something more. And that, I think part of it too, is when I started doing more deep diving into me and a little more understanding with me, it was like, okay, then what is it that if this is not what I have, well, how can I create that? Right. Nice. And what do I want? And so in order to have what I want, I had to be what I want first.
Yeah. Whatever, so Karen. Good. Like you're way too freaking perfect right now in this whole conversation.
And it's not
so good.
It's, and it sounds all great, but it's like, the actually doing it is a whole other thing. Right. And so what does that take? And so it took me opening up and having conversations saying, look, I was a shitty friend. I really didn't allow you to get to know me.
God, I'm so glad you said that.
Oh my God, you almost made me choke on my water.
I'm just kidding, people. I'm just totally kidding. She's so not that way.
Well, but you know what? I have had some of those, those conversations with, some of you girls here too. Yeah. It's like how I was showing up, and it just, how could you get to know me if I really don't show myself and share myself and, be open, be vulnerable, and, be messy. The whole perfection thing too, of trying to be perfect. And that was, past stuff that just kept showing up. And so I just would only show a certain view that I wanted the world to see, because if they saw the rest of me, they wouldn't like me.
And we all start off life that way, right? I mean, we just kind of fall right into that. I love that. Yeah. Karen, thank you. Sure. So Denise, Petalyn, who wants to jump in after that? What's a place where it's been hard for you, and why did you decide to change it? Or did you?
I'm happy to jump in.
Yeah, I'd suggest you do, because Petalyn ain't moving. So
that's fine. I'll totally jump in. Karen, I feel like you and I grew up in such a similar way. I'm like, are we twins, right? Because I feel like I learned a lot about how I was supposed to be from living in my family and my community, right? And I was thinking about the topic today, and my idea of how I was supposed to be the perfect speaker, for example, before we met, right, was, and I used to do this like 20.
Oh, there she goes again.
It's 20. It begins with 20.
Oh, it's 20 sometime.
5 years ago, whatever. Like I have my, is this not
now
working?
You're okay.
Now you're okay. Now you were frozen.
Okay. I'd put on my pressed suit. I'd have my perfect PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, you're cutting out again. We got to fix her internet for this podcast. She's got to go hard.
3-day talk. Everything was done. Oh my God. Yeah. Seriously? This is not working? Yeah. And I just shut everything down too. Well, this is gonna suck.
It's a Wi-Fi thing. We're gonna pass over to Petalyn real quick, just because
Hey, all right, I can bounce off and I'll try to fix something. I'll be right back.
I'm not a backup or a follow-up.
Yeah, you are. You're number 4, woman. Step up.
Well, because you didn't want to go first.
Yeah.
I'll see if
I always
helps.
feel like I go first all the time, so I was just like that. So speaking of vulnerability, I mean, I grew up with what? Denise, you want to go?
I don't have to. No, I was just going to say, I just changed some settings, so I'm hoping that.
Oh, perfect. Oh, awesome. Yeah, yeah. I grew up in a perfectionist household, so so anything less was would bring shame to the family, and the family name and all of that. And I was anything but perfect, especially in my mother's image. So you know, yeah, I was. I was anything but what was favorable or desirable or anything, and I had to hide that. I felt I had to hide that. So I grew up very much hiding everything and anything, everything, yeah.
So in all
So,
areas, then where just
well,
one little
I think it naturally goes to all areas because it isn't an area specific thing,
right.
right? It's how we feel about ourselves. Yeah.
Mm, yes, and I could be, I would say, my in a love relationship, I can be totally 100% myself and vulnerable with you ladies and the freaking public. But you put me in bed with somebody without a shirt on, that's going to be a whole nother vulnerability conversation. So I do not feel comfortable with a man in a love relationship the way I do with, say, you ladies.
Somebody's typing.
Me.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Go on.
So would you say that would be a different, yes, who we are showing up, but I feel like a love relationship's a little bit more vulnerable because they really do see your underbelly per se.
I know for me, that's just about degrees. It's not really a change or a shift. It's just, I'm pretty much myself with you guys. But I'm not 100% vulnerable with you guys all the time, about
Sure.
everything, it's just,
Right.
so it's about degrees, I think.
I
But
like that.
I love what I when I know that I'm being vulnerable, when I no longer think about, when I'm no longer conscious of myself in the company of others.
Mhm.
That's a very rare thing for me,
Mhm.
So yeah.
Ah, I love that truth. That's huge. So that can be exhausting in my
It's
eyes
extremely exhausting. Yeah, yeah. I
because
mean,
you're
I've come a
always
long
second
way,
guessing yourself. Yeah, you've come a long way.
and now I don't really give a crap, although I do. But
Right.
but it's kind of like that's an inner negotiation all the time, right? So for me, it's about being, that horribly overused word, authentic. For me, it's about just showing up as I am, and I don't think there's a huge difference between the way I show up for you guys and other people. I just probably share less of myself, to some extent. I might word it differently. I don't
Yeah.
hide anymore. I just word it differently.
Yeah, I'm saying censor. You would censor certain things. Yeah, I
More
totally get that.
diplomatic.
More
Diplomacy.
diplomatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. I love that. I love that. Okay, so
What is
degrees.
that?
Yeah. Karen, we don't want you to know. We want you to just be all on out there. It's like the rubber band, right? You got to go from one extreme to the next. So, okay, Miss Denise, back to your vulnerability now that your Wi-Fi is now strong.
Hoping that my Wi-Fi is stronger. Yeah, I, as I was saying, like for me, I was raised also in a perfectionist family, Petalyn, so I can completely relate to that with the perfectionist type A mom. And so that was my view of how I was supposed to be. So I borrowed her 3-piece suits and presented, right, in a perfect way, and was taught to cross all the T's and dot all the I's and present, and then ask for questions at the end, right? And when I met you all, I learned very quickly that is not what people want anymore, right? Maybe it worked back then for keynote educational settings, but it doesn't, because people want to get to know who you are. They want to know
Okay,
you're
hang
not
on.
perfect.
I'm gonna stop you here because I want to go to Denise being vulnerable. I don't want to know about I want to know what area did you have trouble being vulnerable in?
Okay.
She's trying to get all businessy and sidestep that.
Well, no, I was going to say business was business was the first area I recognized I need to be more vulnerable, and I don't know how. Okay. Which is why I hired Mark and Shannon, because I was like, they're going to teach me how to speak in today's world and be vulnerable as well as credible. Right. So that's why I hired
how to balance
them, how
those
I got
two.
to know you guys. Yeah. How to balance those two. Exactly.
That's tough, yeah.
And as you guys know, we're all very, very aware as coaches how important it can be to be in a group setting. And that's where I learned to be vulnerable, right? And to be my, not just my authentic self, but my vulnerable self, with letting all my shit hit the floor and say, okay, look, this is how it's been for me in the past. And relationships was the other probably bigger area, but I didn't go to them for that kind of coaching, although I ended up getting that kind of coaching. And it was a work on myself for being more vulnerable in relationships, whether that was with my family or with love relationships, with partners.
And what did that look like? Did that look like using your voice more? Did that look like feeling more? Did you, like Karen was saying, getting out of the superficial part, off the surface, and going deeper? Like, what did that look like for you?
So for me, man, using your voice. Like I have had a past history
censorship
of not, well, on purpose, right? Because I've come over it. Like I've come through the fire. I can openly admit in a vulnerable way that I used to be a really shitty partner. And I didn't realize it. I thought I was being what my partner wanted me to be. And I was really not being my full 100% vulnerable, authentic self of what I wanted. I was being what they wanted me to be, or what I thought they wanted me to be. So
that's
I got
a huge statement. Hang on, Denise.
Statement.
Let's. I need to make that point there, because that is a huge statement that you just said.
Yeah.
So
I own it.
You were, not you, but me too, right? I'm a huge codependent. So you were showing up. I was showing up. Codependents show up as what we think they want us to be, instead of what we want to be. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And
that's huge.
It's huge. And I'm still learning the whole codependent language and stuff, what that all means.
That's why I was just, we all say it in our own way.
Feel free to label it. Yeah. But what it meant for me was I was ending up in these horrible relationships and not getting out of them in a quick manner, because I had invested so much time in them. I thought if he could just, turn it around or change or do what he was promising, then everything would be wonderful. My life
would be great. Yeah.
My life would be great. So I'm happy to say, you guys know my last boyfriend, Tony, was extremely different for me, because this was the time, maybe not the exact first time, but the first time I showed up 100% vulnerable me. And it was like, I don't care if you like me or not. I put the risk out there of this may not go anywhere. And I'm okay with that, because I have to live my life 100% in authenticity of who I am, or I'm not going to be a happy person.
And how did that work for you?
It was awesome. It was the best relationship I've been in so far. And he actually matched it. Like he came to the table even before I did, because our very first conversation on the phone, before I even knew I wanted to meet him in person, he aired out all of his shit. Here's who I am. Here's where I've been. And it was so freeing. And that's kind of what I wanted to bring to the table today too, is someone has to go first, because vulnerability for me it means scary. Like it's scary. Something could happen. I could get rejected, seen as not worthy, like whatever. Because I think you can be authentic and not vulnerable, but I think vulnerability is like level of, I think it's a different level.
Can you explain that? Explain that.
I'll try. For me, I think you can be authentic with who you are. And I am, like, I am absolutely authentic with friends and colleagues and,
but not necessarily share.
But not necessarily, not necessarily vulnerable enough to share my shit like I do with other, like you guys, or even in a group where I didn't know anybody. Because for me, there's that certain sense of, okay, I'm going to put it out there and here it goes. And there's like a different emotion that goes with it, a sense of risk, if you will.
Like nakedness.
Yeah. Like I'm going to show up. I'm going to be completely naked and let the chips fall where they are. And Petalyn, you've been with me in a number of workshops where I chose to be the first vulnerable person to go out there. Yeah. And what happens is, like what I learned is people lean into that and then they all start to be vulnerable too. And it gives permission in the group. Or like Karen, as you were saying, if you started to go first with your friends, it gives them permission too to get to know you more, or gives you a deeper permission to go even deeper with what you share. Mm-hmm. And so for me now, I love living this way, and I don't want to go back, and I still have work to do because I do still see one area where I'm not as good at it.
And then what area is that? Obviously, we're going to ask that.
Well, I don't want to hog the time.
Well, you can say the word and then we'll move on. So what area are you not?
Okay, so for me, I've noticed that I'm still not completely vulnerable and authentic with my landlords. Because there's a sense of fear there that I haven't gotten over yet. Yeah. And it's an old programming fear that if I bring up something that's not working right or something I'm not happy about, what if they, 1, raise my rent, or 2, kick me out?
Okay, so that goes to security, right? Totally. That goes to safety. Yep. So somebody else might be hearing that and saying, I can't say what I want to my boss because I could lose my job. Exactly. I can't say what I want to my spouse because I don't want to lose my marriage. Exactly. I can't say what I want to my children because they're not going to like me, or I'm not going to see my grandkids, or or I can't say what I want to my mother-in-law because then she's not going to babysit for me or whatever. Right. Yeah, so that one thing where it's fear and security could stop the vulnerability. Okay. So let me ask you ladies this. We don't have to share everything with everyone. So
nor should we. Nor should we.
Nor should we.
Right. So where is the line of authenticity versus vulnerability and just lying to someone? Like, to me, if I'm showing up 100% with someone, like I do have a friend this way, and I don't know the underneath. So, and it's awesome. Like, it's fine. Everything's superficial. I'm 100% dripping wet, naked, dripping wet all the time because that's who I am. But I don't get that on the other side in all areas of the life. So I actually have a always. And so that's me because that's where I'm at, dripping wet. And where do you draw the line of, okay, you don't have to be vulnerable with your landlords? Versus I'm not being authentic. Like, I'm literally almost lying by omission, by not sharing what's really happening. Does that even make sense? That question to anybody? It doesn't have to be Denise or landlords, like anybody. Like, withholding your vulnerability, is that really hurting a relationship?
I want to say something, that vulnerability belongs to ourselves. It doesn't belong to anybody else. So how we choose to share that and to what degree we choose to be vulnerable, not to make it another buzzword, but is really up to our own discernment. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've experienced in the past, when I was very young, sharing lots, all my, warts and issues and things that have happened to me in my life. And I've had people walk away and, think less of me perhaps as a result of that. So I've had that experience. Mm-hmm. I've had the experience of not sharing anything with them, and they sort of see me in a way that's, like I have it all together, and I can't really be my full self with them. So I don't feel free because I've set that up. I've set it up that way because I haven't shared, any shoulder to shoulder kind of stuff with them. Right. I've also, but it's always a negotiation, and it doesn't mean we're always going to get it right, in terms of what can another person tolerate, where their tolerances are for our vulnerability, or the level with which we make the decision to share with that person. We might break the bank there, we might not get it right, and we might lose a friendship, or they may lean in. My question, it has always been, and of course it's different for each of us, but how do you navigate or negotiate vulnerability, like being transparent, I would say, with remaining credible in a professional sense?
So good.
I don't navigate it. So I don't navigate it. I had to for so many years being a man in finance. In fact, you mentioned that suit, Denise, is hilarious because I was in a beauty contest in my senior year of high school, and my mother bought me a white skirt and a blazer to be in the, modeling, whatever, which is hilarious.
Mine was off-white. That's what I was picturing when I told the story.
So I love that. So I just had to wear closed-toe shoes, always a blazer, no dangling earrings, hair up. You couldn't be a girl in finance and be smart. So, and I fit in and I did fine. Like I won the awards and all of that stuff. And then when I broke out of my shell and said, no, hang on, I have brains and breasts and I'm good and I love my clients. And I decided to share my story, brains and breasts, right? B&B. And
bra or no bra.
Bra, yeah, doesn't matter. Bra or no bra. I still have my brains and breasts. And I decided to do that everywhere. And I think it was in 2012-ish, 11 or 12-ish. And since then, I can't. Like they literally told me to have an office in a different town than where I live because your clients should not see you at a bar or at a restaurant with your family or anything. Like it was so hidden. And the financial industry is so covert and convoluted and full of crap that I'm almost pushing against that when I'm doing all of this. I'm saying, no, this is who I am.
You're rebelling.
Everywhere. I am totally rebelling. So I'm not saying do this. I'm saying I'm still in that rubber band phase of breaking out of, so they know everything. They know everything. Like, I shouldn't say everything, but you know what I mean? A lot of my life. And so far, what I've experienced is honesty makes them feel so secure. Mm-hmm. And when I'm dealing with money and finances and coaching someone in their life, they want to know that I'm not perfect. In fact, I literally just had a lady call and she goes, I'm with you because you told me that you messed up and I'm so ashamed of where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten good response from that. I've not had any clients leave because of that. So I don't know if it's working or not.
Well, I think that it makes us more relatable when we're putting ourselves out there and we're showing our imperfections, because if we show up as having it all together all the time, everything is just perfect. Nobody is like that. Right? Exactly. Absolutely.
They are on Instagram, Karen. Don't you see everything on Instagram?
Not reality.
Yeah. It's not real, right? And so why would somebody work with, if you're completely unrelatable, then why would someone trust themselves to open up? And especially as coaches, like, we have to be that first. We have to, as leaders, like Simon Sinek says, we have to eat, leaders eat last, but sometimes we have to show up first, right? In a way that allows people to say, oh, this is okay. Right. It's like, oh, well, she's vulnerable. She's opening up about her shit. Okay. I can do that too. Right. And then we can get to work. But, until people feel that, it just, and I get, Jennifer, where you came from with your industry, and that had to be, very stifling, especially for who you are. Right.
Yeah.
To just really hold all of that back. And it's, and it feels icky. It feels inauthentic because it's not who you are. Right. And so that to me was kind of, for me too, that was it just felt icky. Not being me just didn't feel right. Like I would literally get nauseous. It was like a feeling in my body to say, and then when I feel that, it's like I have to look at, okay, where am I not being open? Where am I not being truthful? Or even, and I say truthful is just withholding many times too, is just not really allowing that. But it is a fine line, because in that process of learning how to be vulnerable, sometimes, the pendulum can swing a little too far in one direction. Right.
Bleh. Yeah.
And so you're like, just like vomiting all over people. And they're like, whoa, back up, sister, like TMI, right?
Right.
And so it is about finding that balance of how much do we share? How much do we, hold back? But I think, as Petalyn said too, it has very much to do with us, right? And how does it feel? And, and how much of ourselves are we willing to share? Right. And sometimes it's a little testing the waters to see how people will respond to our, to us. And, what is the situation? Is it a business situation? Is it somebody that we're trying to create a relationship with, friendship, intimate relationship? Right.
So how do you do that, Denise, in your world?
Well, I was just going to say, I really appreciate the shares that you all are bringing forth. And I also want to say that there is not only is there a balance, but I think over time you begin to figure out where the boundary is, because I think there is also a little bit of a point where you kind of want to maybe judge each situation moment by moment, or look at who you're with.
What about you? So
for me personally, like my
you're
training,
in a different industry.
I am. And so with my training, like I'm in the families' homes, like I work with families that have kids with disabilities, right? And developmental delays. So I'm in their home hearing about all their personal shit. And we go all over the place into some really deep conversations and discussions and topics. And I've actually trained and coached other people coming into this profession because there was no filter, and some people don't have a filter. And in my mind, it's really not okay for a professional who's supposed to be serving a client coming into the home and talking about their sex life, right? Or their problem with their boyfriend that night, or
okay, she's not thinking, she's frozen.
She's frozen. Okay, Petalyn, we're jumping.
Oh, there she is. Darn it!
Dang it.
Oh, okay. So again,
so we got the gist of it. Denise, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because it's another thing that I thought of with you and your families. They don't have the space to hold what's going on with you. They don't need to know what's going on with you because they got enough crap to deal with.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. Like for me, it's a fine balance. There's a fine line. And I have things come up that, it might actually push my own button. And sometimes I do decide to share, like, okay, this is the same issue that I dealt with my little girl, my wounded little girl, and I got over it, and I can share how to get out of it, and so I'll share it. And people are super happy that I'm relatable and that, oh my God, that's my issue too. And they even use my past examples to bring and share with the groups, right? Or other family members. And sometimes I have to squash it because I'm there for them.
Yes.
Like this week or this last month, one of my clients is sharing how she's grieving the fact that she just learned she can't have any more children. Right. And that's my biggest regret, is not having my own children. Right. So like I could completely break down in the moment and go, oh my God, I know, and I didn't have children. Like I totally get it. And I'm grieving that too. And it's still my biggest regret. And I like, no. And that is not going to serve her or anybody else on the call.
No.
Right. So it would be vulnerable. It would be authentic for me to say, yeah, I've dealt with the same shit or similar shit. And
how I can help you.
Right. And it might be personal one-on-one conversation with her, or it might be, okay, I'm going to take my big feelings off the call and reach out to one of you lovelies, right? My soul sisters, or someone else that I've talked with about my own shit that can coach me through whatever I got going on. But I don't think a client should be having to hold the bucket and hold space for me.
For sure.
And so that's what I wanted to bring to the table.
Awesome. Petalyn, how do you handle it in the business? It was your question.
Yeah. Well, I'm very clear that I am not expecting sympathy or any measure of, because I'm here to serve. The thing, but I run into people all the time that, and I may be making this up, but even psychology, they talk about this, where there are helpers in the world. We are all helpers. And we need people to, not me, but there are many who need people to be wounded.
Yep.
So that they can jump in and go, oh,
So
it's going to be okay.
You like,
Pardon?
they need to rescue, like they need to
Yes,
be the fixer.
that's a good way to put it. And you run into them all the time. My Facebook post. Well, some of you know my Facebook posts. Some of you might read them. But I come into situations and so on where I will write about it and so on. Sometimes I'll borrow from stories of my past and so on. And for me, I'm kind of a thinking person, so I'm just relating something because it's as a service. I think that it might be interesting for people who might, get something from it and so on. I'm not doing it because I'm looking for sympathy at all, because I wouldn't post to Facebook unless it's clearly like this just happened, holy crap, kind of thing. So, and the responses are often because people are starting to get to know me better, and the people who read my posts and so on, they kind of grasp where I'm coming from. But there are still those that kind of go, oh, it'll be okay. And it's just like, you know what? Fuck you. That's not the whole server. That's not the purpose of the post. I'm not a wounded bird. I don't need to be saved, whatever.
Right.
But that I have no control over that. People respond how they respond, and it says more about them than it does about whatever. So it's it's just interesting to look for, like Denise was saying, what is the purpose of sharing this? Am I looking for a sympathy, or is that what I want, or is it purely in service? And the instant someone turns their attention to my issue as if I'm looking for sympathy because that's what they know, right? I instantly go, I'm sharing this not because I need any support. I'm good with it. Been there, done that. I'm sharing this because it may offer some insight for you. So I'm very clear. I do not need them emotionally in that moment. It's not what I'm doing. So, so for me, that boundary is really clear. I feel like it is for them.
Me too. Yeah, because obviously,
I think it is for you too, and I think that's one of the reasons you get away with it so well. Yeah,
because I don't say it for the sympathy.
Right
now. And they know that, like, it's literally a teachable moment most of the time. Now, I will say I did put a post out on Facebook because I did want sympathy. I went through my 30-year anniversary of losing my kids, and I
got a lot of sympathy.
I did, and it was wonderful, and it made me feel. And I literally did it for that reason. I'm sitting here going, okay, let's just do a quick little post and see what happens. And it's exactly, and it was so great. Like, it felt so good. So I love that you said, why are you doing it? Right? Like, what is the intention behind sharing a story or sharing your experience, and making it clear that, this is a teachable moment, or I'm sad today, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So we have how many minutes left? 6 minutes left. So how do we want to tie up vulnerability in a bow? I hear that we're recommending it, and being our own master of it, right?
Yes.
What maybe is one, I feel like it's changed my life. Vulnerability has changed my life. It's helped me heal. It's helped me get forward. It's helped me make money. It's helped me lose weight. It's helped me find love and have orgasms. It's helped me get clients. It's helped me be authentic. It's taken so much stress over because I am who I am everywhere. So, like, I don't have to worry about a lot of that, right? So I feel like it has changed my life, and I love it. So maybe let's end it on a positive note. What has vulnerability done for you, and either the area or the story or whatever that you would want to share with everyone? So, like, 2 minutes each. Who wants to go first? I'll let you pick.
I'll go first while my internet's still good.
Mark, get set, go.
I feel that, yes, I agree. Vulnerability has completely changed my life. Being on the other side of it is freeing. For me, it was, oh my God, I'm not the only one who's fucked up. I'm not the only one who's struggling with this. I see other people that they're not there to just go, oh, or pick me up or whatever, but they're there to champion me, to get me through to the other side. They don't want to do it for me, but they want to be there with me when I'm fighting my own demons, whatever they might be, and moving myself forward. to a place where I can feel completely free myself. And it just allows me to be whoever I want to show up as, PJs and blingy earrings and all, in whatever situation, family, friends, colleagues, clients, romantic, soon to be romantic partners, etc. It's awesome. And so it's scary. So if you don't have the support, find the support so you can be more vulnerable.
Awesome. Next. Oh my gosh, ladies.
I think that for me, vulnerability has, it's allowed me to get to know me. Because I spent so much time as a chameleon trying to figure out who I needed to be for other people versus really knowing who the hell I was. And I got to actually, and that it was not because of them. It was never because of them. It was always because I thought I needed to do something or be somebody different because I wasn't comfortable enough with who I am. And so I got to create that person and really get to choose who I want to be. I have found my voice because I speak what it is that is my truth, or I ask questions that are uncomfortable and create uncomfortable conversations without fear of this person leaving. Because if they leave because of an uncomfortable conversation, then they're probably not the right person for the type of relationships that I seek. Intimate relationships with friends, partners, whatever, right?
With yourself.
And with myself, for sure. Yeah. And it allows me to wake up and look at myself in the mirror and say, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
I love that. Petalyn.
Yeah.
I enjoy vulnerability because it keeps me human. It reminds me that I am imperfect, and it keeps me relatable, I think. It just reminds me that my work isn't done. And so in a sense, I think I never want to be done with it because that's part of being human for me. It's, part of the journey, and it's part of being able to laugh at myself because honestly, it's not a lot of fun, otherwise, unless we learn to laugh at ourselves. And I know Karen and I laugh a lot about, just the being human and, how we're perfect and everybody else is fucked up. And,
if they would just do what I say, life would be so much easier.
And then we laugh at that because, obviously that's ridiculous, but it's, I think it's a good thing. I like to look at the etymology of words, and it's Latin based on vulnerabilis, which is wounding, circa 1600. So yeah, to wound, to hurt. So it's out of our pain, right? The pain of childbirth, the pain of being born, the pain of being raised, the pain of learning how to be human, and the pain of learning that it's okay to be human, ultimately.
I love that. Well, I absolutely.
Luna's going to have some pain coming up.
She's got something
to
say. Totally. And I dropped my keys yesterday. Talk about vulnerable. So I lost my keys. I don't do that. I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, how lame is that? And I lost my glasses. Thank you, universe, for giving me this wonderful lesson of slowing down. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm not quite sure what it is yet.
You get to buy new glasses, and you get to get new keys and a new key ring. How exciting.
Yes. So freaking exciting, Denise. I can't wait. But yes. So I love that. I love that because for me, that's a challenge to share that I'm doing stupid things like that because I do have judgment over my children when they I know, but when they lose their keys, it irritates me because that costs money and it's a pain in the butt. So now I'm like, oh, judgy Judy here. I just lost my keys. I guess I can't judge someone else now because I just did that. And I'm a grown ass adult and I still did it. So it could be on little tiny things as well. Right. And just to kind of look at that. Okay. We are at time. Oh, ladies, I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you for being here for our soul sisters. Check out the other stuff. You mentioned leadership, Karen. Like we have one on leadership. We have so many more. Check out the other shows that we have, and we'll have another one too. Thank you, ladies. Mwah. Love.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you all.
Bye.
We appreciate you joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe to the Rock My Finances YouTube channel for more engagement and bonus content. Tell me, what is your money story? Let's find out with Jennifer, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, every Thursday right here on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV. It's not about the zeros, it's about the F word, feelings. Feelings Jennifer can't wait to explore with you next week. Until then, let's all say, I rock my finances.